Tennessee Senator Bill Hagerty joins me now. And Mr. Senator, Trump says Iran has agreed to refrain from developing or acquiring nuclear weapons. OK, do you trust the Iranians?
Well, I think it's very difficult to trust the Iranians. That's why I'm certain that whatever deal President Trump puts in place will require performance. He'll put checkpoints. President Trump's been a business person his entire life, a very successful one, I might add, particularly in the real estate development business. He understands performance is a necessity to get any sort of compensation or recompense. So I feel certain that whatever the Iranians do, it's going to have to be verified. They're going to have to demonstrate performance before they make any sort of concessions are yielded. So that's the type of deal I would expect to see, and I'm looking forward to the details.
Trust but verify, as in the words of Ronald Reagan, I believe it was. President Trump's calling out District Judge Richard Leon for ruling against the construction of the White House ballroom. Trump calls the block there a national security risk. It seems to me that the Democrats don't like anything that Trump does, whether it's the Triumphal Arch, putting his face on the $250 bill, the ballroom, the National Garden of Heroes. They just don't like anything with Trump's name on it or face on it or approval of it.
This certainly seems to be a situation that happens inside the beltway of Washington, D.C. The rest of America must be very puzzled by this, because all they have to look at is a situation where we've had a president with multiple death threats. In fact, the Iranians had a fatwa on him. If you think about it, you had an assassin that tried to enter and did enter, in fact, the Correspondents' Dinner here recently in Washington, D.C. with multiple weapons with an attempt to assassinate probably the president, the cabinet. If you look at the technologies that are being deployed right now, new sophisticated drone technologies, frankly, we've deployed sophisticated technologies in places like Iran and Venezuela with incredible results in terms of decapitating regimes. So I think it is a security environment that we ought to be cognizant of. The security situation has changed dramatically. The technology has changed dramatically, and to ignore that, I think would be folly. I think the executive branch, particularly this president, commander-in-chief, is in a much better position to evaluate the security needs of this White House in this region than the judicial branch. And I don't think you would want to be on the wrong side of history. Certainly, I wouldn't want to be on the wrong side of history, given the pace of technology development and the accelerating threat regime that we're dealing with.
At this moment, the pundits are saying that the president and the Republicans lose the midterms. What say you to that?
Well, I think that's very typical of polls this early out, because they don't matter until you've actually had a chance to put competitors into position and actually define them. When you start seeing the leadership of the Democrat Party in the face of those like Zohran Mamdani, I think the American public will begin to wake up and realize they may not be happy with current situation. Again, if you listen to what happens in the mainstream media, you'd think the malaise that you hear about, you wouldn't find out about the fact the stock market is all-time highs, the massive investments that are coming into place, the fact that people's tax returns are north of $3,400 this year, highest on record. What you're seeing in the media, quite different from reality. And as we see ourselves get closer and closer to that November date, more definition comes into place with respect to the actual candidates and the policies those candidates maintain. I think you're going to see the Republicans back in a position to say, look, we're delivering for the American people. The only position that the Democrats seem to have is anti-Trump, chaos, socialism, Democrat socialism, whatever they want to call it. That's not the direction America wants to go.
There are, I believe, 80 million households which have an IRA or a 401k. That kind of money is usually invested in the stock market. Yeah. And the stock market has been going from one record high to another. Maybe the president and the Republicans could make more of the enormous financial gains to America's middle class because of Wall Street's performance. Last word to you.
Stuart, that's a great suggestion. And if you think about it, stock markets are forward-looking. I think there's a lot of optimism in the future. And if you look at the new Trump accounts, the Trump IRAs, that's going to expand even more American access to the markets and let them have an ownership interest in the great future that's ahead of us. If you look at what we did with the big, beautiful bill, more incentive to invest capital in America, this economy is humming. So I think you're exactly right. We should focus on it more.
Got it. Senator Bill Hagerty, always a pleasure.
Thank you, Stuart.
Thank you very much, sir. Cheers.